What's up, guys, and welcome to this new build. Today we're going to be doing the Raspberry Pi Zero is what we're going to be looking at. This one right here is the Raspberry Pi Zero W. The cool part about the W is that it stands for wireless. So this one is the Broadcom chip that has Bluetooth as well as Wi-Fi on it, and you're going to need it for this build. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building a RetroPie, but in a very cool way. This is the first video in this series. I think maybe there'll only be 2 videos, maybe 3 videos, I don't know, but this is basically the kickoff video. We're going to be configuring RetroPie, and I'm also going to be showing you what you will be needing. We're going to be throwing some 3D printing in here as well, because we're going to 3D print a really awesome case for this little guy. So the first things to get started that we're going to need, we'll be adding some more things in later videos, but currently all that we'll need is you're going to need an SD card. I would definitely recommend one of the high speed ones. This one I think is a 40 megabits per second one. It's like a UC2 or something like that, or I can't remember which one, but just look up the grades of these cards, and you need at least what I found that is really good is the 40 megabits per second works really well. So you need one of those. You also need one of these HDMI type C connectors, okay? The Raspberry Pi Zero does not have a standard large HDMI cable, okay? It has the C connector, all right? So this is one, you can pick these up real cheap, you know, get them from Monoprice or Amazon or whatever, so you need one of those. You also need, because they use micro USB, it uses micro USB ports on there, you need, so that you can configure it, at least configure the wireless. Then once you configure wireless and you set up SSH, you'll be able to SSH to it for the rest of the configuration, so you don't need to really mess with it too awfully much. But for the keyboard input, you're going to need a standard USB. Unless you have a special keyboard that is micro USB, you need one of these adapters that you can plug into it. These are usually fairly inexpensive, and then that way you get your standard USB port, okay? So that's what you're going to need for that. And then some sort of keyboard. I've got one of these. These things are awesome. These are these RII Mini X1s or whatever. These things are great. They got the mouse on them. They're a full-fledged keyboard and everything, and they have the little USB dongle right there. They're fantastic, rechargeable. I really like this little thing. Use it all the time for programming these Pis. As well as the cool part, this is where you want the W version. The W version has Bluetooth, and for that, I have chosen the G-Pad. This thing is under $20 USD, and it has everything. It's got bumper buttons. I'll take it out of the package and I'll show you here after a bit, but it's got bumper buttons. It's got the 4 buttons here. It's got select and start. It's got the 2 analog sticks. It even has a turbo feature. I don't really use the turbo feature very often, but the cool thing about this controller is it connects Bluetooth, and it even has, you can't really see it, but it has 4 LED lights so that you can actually connect up to 4 of these, and it will give you some visual indication on the controller whose controller is whose, so that way you know which player is whose. Now, those of you who don't know what RetroPie is, we'll get into it in a minute. Let's go over to the desk, and I will get to the software portion of this, and we'll check it all out, all right? So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, guys, so we've made it back to the bench now, so you have to excuse the low quality. I'm using an old camera. Oh, and by the way, the bench is over here, so if you see me looking this direction, I'm not doing like the you know, whatever it is, the country western guys that go. It's like, what the hell are they looking at? Anyway, I'm looking over here so I can see what I'm doing over on the bench here. Anyway, and you have to forgive that too. I don't know why, but whenever you move, I am literally not jiggling the board. The camera literally, I think it refocuses or something, and so it literally like jiggles around. It doesn't know what to do. So you have to You have to excuse that. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to get the SD card all prepared here. So what I use is I use one of these. These things are awesome. You get them off Amazon. It takes the standard SD card on one side. It takes a micro SD on the other side. It has a standard USB on one side, and then on the other side, you take the cap off and it's got a micro USB. These things are sweet. I enjoy mine very much. I do. So anyway, so check out one of these. What we're going to do is we're going to put this together. Let me get in there. All right, so I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to go ahead and load this into my computer, if I can get it plugged in down here. And then what we'll do is we'll use the Win32 disk imager, which is, you know, the standard one that everybody uses to flash images, because the RetroPie actually is a image of Raspbian. There it is. I heard it ding-a-ling-a. I'm going to turn that off because it's annoying massively. So anyway, so what we're going to do is I'm going to turn the microphone around, and I'm going to face this direction, because now we're going to shift gears and see if I can do it. Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's the little things in life. Okay, so the RetroPie. So this is what we're going to be installing. So you just go to retropie.org.uk, okay? And those of you that don't know what RetroPie is, it is basically an emulator of all kinds. It will do Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. It will emulate PlayStation. It'll emulate Sega Saturn, Sega CD, Sega Genesis, the Sega Game Gear. It'll do the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance. It'll even do Nintendo DS. Now, that one's a little experimental, and I've been having trouble with that one, playing certain games, but and also it's a little it requires a little bit more power out of the Raspberry Pi Zero, which I don't think it can really give it at this moment. So the Nintendo DS and the PlayStation, there's certain games on the PlayStation that you can play, and it plays really well. In fact, I'll show you one. But there's certain games that it just, if they're really involved graphically, which I know the graphics were pretty poor on PlayStation, but still, if they were fairly involved, it kind of chugs trying to run it. But we'll see that in the configurations and stuff of it, which hopefully maybe we'll get to in this video. Hopefully this won't go way too long. I'll keep an eye on the time here. It's another nice thing about this new software I'm using. It actually tells me the time and everything. It's fantastic. Anyway, so what you do from here is you just hit download, and then you can donate if you want. I recommend that you do, because this is literally like one of the awesomest things I think I have ever seen. So I recommend that you check it out and donate to them, because it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So, okay, so down here you're going to use the Raspberry Pi 0/1, which is the Raspberry Pi Zero. This is the image that you want. Do not download the 2.3, because that's for the big Raspberry Pis. You know, in fact, well, I had one around here a few seconds ago. There it is. It's one of the, oh yeah, you can't see it. So one of these. It's actually for one of these. Okay, so yeah, you don't want to download this Raspberry Pi 2/3, because it's for one of the big Pis. It doesn't work for the Zero. Been there, done that, messed that one up. All right, so once you download that, you will have the image and everything. So let me see if I can pull up a Windows Explorer. Here, let's just Control or Window E it real fast. All right, I'm going to go into my YouTube stuff. I'm going to go into my projects, into my Raspberry Pi stuff, the Zero one. All right, and by the way, yeah, I've been doing some inventor work, and I've been building a case for it that we will 3D print when it's all over with. But either way, you'll download this image file, you'll extract it, you'll get this file right here that says 0 on it, and you will take, and that's the one that we're going to use. So we're also going to use Win32 disk imager. Oh yeah, everything grayed out because it asked me, are you sure you want to run this program? Yes, we are. So there's my drive G. That's the one that I'm going to be using it with. So we're going to pick this image out of our file. So let's go to Raspberry Pi Retro 0. There's the image. We choose that file. Where did it go? There it is. And then we're just hit right, and it says, are you sure this will destroy all the data on this? Well, good news, it's brand new out of the pack. So we're going to go ahead and let that roll away. Another good news is those of you that have used the cheaper SD cards and stuff like that, they and that aren't fast, you know, that aren't the 40 megabits per second, it will take forever to put this image onto it. Just FYI. So once we get that put together, we will check out how to do the controller and wireless and all that jazz and hook it up and yada, 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 yada. So in the meantime, while that's doing that, I'm going to check out back to here. I'm going to scrape this clean, and we're going to check out the controller. Let me move all this stuff out of the way. Let me grab it. Hold on. So yeah, so this controller, this little controller is actually really cool. Let me see if I can back up. Back up. There we go. The G-pad. Ooh. So, in fact, I think we may need a little more light. Hold on. Let me get some more light. Let's get some light on this subject. All right. Very impromptu video. There we go. That's so much better. All right. So now it's going to be the G-pad BX is what this is going to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this open and we're going to take a peek at it. Yes. So in the box, it seems like you get the controller, and that's pretty much it. You get an instruction sheet, I believe. Yep, instruction booklet. Woo! Get that out of here. Oh, let's get the controller out of its box. Throw that. All right. So now this is all there is to it. It has mini USB, not micro, but oh hey. Mini USB is what it has on it to recharge it with. I believe it does come with a cable because I checked that out later. So it does come with a cable. But yeah, I mean, it feels really good in the hands. It's actually quite nice. You got the 2 analog sticks. You've got bumper buttons. You got shoulder buttons, bumper buttons. You got the XBAY, and you got a D-pad, start, select. It is actually pretty fantastic. How you fire it up, it's just like an Xbox controller. You push the middle button and these lights down here will start blinking. All right. To power it off, all you do is hold down this button and the center button and the X button. You just hold it down till the lights quit blinking and that powers it off. Very, very straightforward and very easy to work with. All right. So this is the controller we're going to be using, and I will show you how to put this into pair mode and how to pair it up with the Raspberry Pi Zero once we get the image loaded on it. Now, the image is still taking a while, so I'm going to pause the video here, and we will pick it up after the miracle of time has worked its magic, and we are done with imaging the image. All right? So, ooh, wow. I didn't notice that, but that light just washed me out something fierce. Anyway, looking in my camera here. All right, so I shall return. Okay, so I'm going to now get my cord out. I'm going to fire this puppy up. If I can get plugged in. There we go. Okay, so we should be booting. Ah, yes. Bootatious. All right, so what I'm going to be doing is I've got my little keyboard plugged in here. So what I'm going to do is once this boots, it's going to ask me to configure a controller. And so that's where I'm going to configure up the keyboard first because the Bluetooth isn't activated. So, and none of the wireless or anything set up. So I won't be able to connect the controller until that all happens. So we'll give that a second. I'm going to turn on my other camera. Okay, now we'll wait for this to boot. Once it boots, we should get the emulation station, which is, excuse me, I'm sorry about that, which is basically the overarching OS that, well, not really OS, it's just the software that runs all the emulators. So, kind of scoot in, I was kind of sit back for a little bit. All right, there we go. So now we have to push any button to configure it, so I'm just going to press anything. If you see it says keyboard, if you hold it down, okay, then it brings up our config. All right. So now, excuse me, I'm sorry. Got something in my throat. So now we have to do D-pad up, D-pad down, and sometimes you may have to go through this a couple of times. Sometimes it skips buttons, but really all we're concerned with really is the start button and the A button. For now, since we're going to configure a controller, I really don't care about any of the bumper buttons or anything special, so just pick random keys for that. But D-pad up, I'm going to use the, oop, I didn't mean to bump the microphone there. I'm going to use the little arrow keys, basically. You can do this with the arrow keys on your keyboard, just any key, just whatever. So I'm going to go up, we're going to go down, go left, right. We're going to start, I'm going to choose that as the spacebar. Select, I'm going to do the Alt key. A, I'm literally going to do A, and I'm just going to do the letters. So B, X, and Y. And left shoulder, I don't know, I'm going to do maybe the open curly brace, or left curly brace, right curly brace. Right here, doesn't matter. Semicolon, comma, left thumb. Let's do 0 and 9. Let's do I, K, J, L, and then Y, H, G, U. Sure. Right. Analog right. Let's do the number 8. Sure. And then hit OK by pressing the A button, I believe. I can't remember how you actually hit OK. Sure. Super duper. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you press like A or whatever you assigned the A button to, you press that. Okay, so now we're at the main menu. And we're going to be looking at all these other things. So we've got configure input, all that jazz, sound settings, UI settings, sound settings. Again, I think we have to use the A key, volume, enable sounds back. That's fine. So other settings, all different types. I think we're good. We can say quit. We can say restart. Really restart emulation station. That's the one that, and I'm doing all that, clicking all the selections I was doing with the A key, since I programmed the A button to be the one to work it. So now this comes up very basic, comes up with the RetroPie configuration. Okay, there are no emulators. If I go left or right, which I'm pushing left and right now, no emulators. So you have to load the ROMs to actually get the different emulators. And I'll show you how we do that here in just a minute, but we got to activate a few things. So I'm going to press A, go into this. Now for our Bluetooth activation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Bluetooth. Now this is going to take us into the Bluetooth configuration. Now hopefully I can do this from memory. I haven't done this for a while. I did this when I first set it up. Like I said, I always try everything out before I actually do it. So the first option, just because also this thing is so hard to read. I'm totally kind of blown away by that. I've set up this before and it's so hard to read. Well, anyway, the first thing you'll choose is you choose the register and connect your Bluetooth device. So I'm going to choose that. Now that we're in this mode and kind of this GUI, we're actually out of the emulation station. The enter key is going to be the key. It's going to work just like a normal keyboard. Up, down, left, right, and stuff, and enter and all that stuff. So what it's going to do is refresh. Oh, crud, I need to turn our controller on. So I'm going to turn on our controller. See, it says no devices selected. So now it's blinking. It should be in pairing mode. So I'm going to basically do that again. I'm going to say register new Bluetooth device. It should catch that. So it gives it a minute to search. No. Okay, so I believe that I have to put this in a pairing mode. There we go. Okay, you press X and the center one only for a few seconds till it starts rapidly flashing like that. You're going to rapidly flash it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and we'll try registering it again. I believe when it's rapidly flashing like that, that's when it's in pairing mode. So, and that's what we want. There we go. Okay, that's what it is. You hold down the center button on this, and one of the X buttons just for a split second, not the whole time to shut it off, but just for a split second. And there it is. There's the MAC address for it. So I'm going to choose that. Then I want to choose to display yes and no. Okay, so we do want to do that. Whoa! Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this does have a vibrate feature too. I mean, this control is awesome. It's sub $20 and it's fantastic. It has a vibrate feature. So now it says that it's connected, and you can tell that it's connected on the controller because the light is on. Okay, so the controller is now paired. Woo! Now, the next thing we want to do is we're not done yet, because what we need to do is we need to set this to start up that way. So we want it to, excuse me, I'm sorry. We want to register it, okay, to where it will always boot up with the system when it boots up. Okay, so in order to do that, okay, so what you want to do is you want to go down to the setup UDEV rules. Okay, for joypad, requires joypad, blah, blah, blah. But you want to set up the UDEV rules for that. So you say okay with that. You choose the gamepad that you want to set up those UDEV rules for, which is the one that we have. Okay, all right, that's good. What this does is this causes when the RetroPie boots, it will cause it to look for the controller. It'll look for that specific MAC address and pair it when it starts. Otherwise, you have to go through this pairing thing. You're going to have to keep a keyboard next to you, all the time, and go through this pairing setup. So if you set up the UDEV rules, it writes it into the startup to where when it starts up, it'll look for the controller. So as long as you turn the controller on and it is ready to pair, you basically just push the center button on the controller and turn it on, it will link up with the RetroPie as it starts. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to press tab over to cancel, and we're going to hit cancel. Now, to make sure that this is all okie dokie smoky, first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and restart this. So I'm going to press my space bar, which remember I set to start. So we're going to press that. Then we're going to go down to quit. And I am going, oh yeah, I got to press, we're back to using the other keys, so A key. We're going to hit restart system, which pretty much just reboots the entire Pi. So yes, I want to really restart it. So now my controller is flashing, okay? Now I'm going to hold on to it, and it should, when this reboots, it should vibrate and connect up. So let's see what happens. We're going to give it a second here. Let it boot. It's when it's at the RetroPie screen, it's when usually it links up to it. So let's give it a minute. RetroPie. So hopefully it should start vibrating soon. There it is. So our UDEV rules worked. So it paired up with it at boot, which is exactly what you want it to do. Okay, now what will happen is it'll come up and it's going to ask me probably to configure this controller, because it's going to realize, because of the UDEV rules and whatnot, that there is a Bluetooth controller configured, okay, and that it is connected. So it's going to ask me to do the same setup again. I'm going to press and hold a button, and then I'm going to run through that same exact setup to map the buttons. Okay, now good news is this controller has all the buttons that you're going to need, all the analog sticks, everything. So you'll be able to map literally every single button to something, and it will be to something that makes sense, because sometimes when you have controllers that don't have enough buttons, then you got to skip things, and yeah, things just get weird. Okay, so it looks like we may have to go in and set up our configuration. So I'm going to go back to my keyboard. Good to go. Let's do configure input on that real quick. Yes. Here we go. Gamepad selected. All right. So that's what we need to do is do the configuration input as well. So I'm going to press a button on my Bluetooth gamepad. And I'm going to go D-pad up, down, left, right, start, select A, B, X, Y. Left shoulder, left, right, left trigger, right trigger, thumb, right thumb, left analog, up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right. Okay. Give that a minute to save everywhere. This one's the one that I should that we need to do right off the bat. You can go into the RetroArch config and change it up from there, but this is the way that you do this to make it work magnificently. All right, so now I should be able to, yeah, look at that. See, now I'm using the controller to move it around. So what I'm going to do, let's see, I should be able to hit start. There we go. Hit B. Oh yeah, see, now my controller is working. So now I don't need the keyboard anymore. So what we'll do now is we will stop here and we'll pick up the next video where we will learn how to set up and put together the SSH and everything to where we can then SCP ROMs over to it, and we can start loading some video games on this bad boy. So that's it, guys, for the initial setup. Took way longer than I expected it to, but that's how you put together the image, get it loaded onto the Raspberry Pi Zero, and connect up your Bluetooth controller. Okay, so give that a try. Have any questions or comments, please put that down in the comments. And also follow me on social media. I got that all down there too. Check me out at Twitter. I'm at misperryee. Also check me out on Instructables. I'm at Hackaday.io / misperry, I believe. And then I also created a Facebook one. So I now have a Facebook page that's for the channel here. So check me out there as well. And make sure and hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on any of these cool builds and things that I do, as well as April 30th at 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time, we will be doing the first official live stream where we will be probably putting together and building an Alexa Pi from scratch. So don't miss out on these cool events. Make sure you're subscribed so that way you don't miss any of the updates or events that are coming up. And guys, with that ought to do it, and I will see you next time.